The new recruits. The Anchor's End was the kind of bar that smelled like salt water, spilled beer, and bad decisions. Sienna Hayes pushed through the door, her two eyes adjusting to the dim lighting. She wore civilian clothes, faded jeans and a simple black tank top that showed off her bronze skin and the athletic build of someone who'd spent 15 years perfecting her body into a weapon. The bar was packed with Navy recruits celebrating Hell Week completion. Their voices were loud, confident, full of the swagger that came from surviving one of the military's most brutal training regimens. Sienna found a corner booth, ordered a beer, and settled in to observe. "Check out the civilian," a voice carried over the noise. Jake Torres, Maverick, to his friends, was exactly the type Sienna had been warned about. 6'2", movie star handsome, with two eyes that assessed women like targets. He approached her table with his friend Marcus Washington trailing behind, a mountain of muscle they called Brick. "Hey there." Jake's smile was predatory. "You look lonely. Mind if we join you?" Sienna's two hands remained relaxed around her beer bottle. "Actually, I'm waiting for someone." "Come on, don't be like that." Jake slid into the booth uninvited. "I'm Jake. We just finished Hell Week. We're SEALs, well, almost." "Congratulations," Sienna said neutrally. Marcus appeared with a tray of shot glasses filled with an ominous red liquid. "SEAL Crucible. We make all the newbies drink it. Tradition." "I'm not a newbie," Sienna replied calmly. "Exactly." Jake laughed. "So it should be easy for you. Come on, drink it. Show us what you've got." The other recruits gathered, chanting, "Drink it. Drink it." Sienna noticed one recruit hanging back, Owen Chen, his two eyes showing discomfort with the hazing. His two arms were crossed, his two legs shifting uneasily. "I'll pass," Sienna said. "What's wrong?" "Too delicate." Marcus taunted. "Can't handle what real warriors drink." Jake leaned in, his breath alcohol heavy. "Maybe she's just a paper pusher. Desk officer playing pretend in our bar." Sienna's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her two eyes: calculation, amusement, decision. Her two hands set down her beer bottle with deliberate precision. "One condition," she said quietly. "You all drink one too. Right now. All of you." The recruits exchanged confident grins. "Deal." Sienna lifted the shot glass with steady 5 fingers, examined the liquid, some hellish mixture of hot sauce, whiskey, and regret, and downed it in one smooth motion. No grimace. No cough. Just calm as she set the empty glass down. 5 more rounds. Each. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Since you're such real warriors." Their confidence wavered, but pride wouldn't let them back down. Sienna calmly ordered and paid for 5 rounds of the crucible. She watched with detached interest as they struggled through shot after shot, several turning green, Marcus actually running for the bathroom. Owen approached quietly. "You didn't have to do that." "No," Sienna agreed, her two eyes meeting his. "But they needed to learn something." "What's that?" Her smile was mysterious as she stood, her two legs carrying her toward the exit. "That they shouldn't make assumptions about people they don't know." At the door, she turned back. The recruits were variously groaning, pale, or unconscious. "See you Monday, gentlemen." The door closed behind her, leaving confusion and nausea in her wake. Monday was going to be very interesting. The revelation. Monday morning arrived with the cruel precision of a headshot. The 23 SEAL candidates assembled in the briefing room at 0600, most nursing hangovers from the weekend celebrations. Jake Torres slouched in his chair, sunglasses hiding bloodshot two eyes, while Marcus Washington looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Owen Chen sat alert in the front row, his two hands folded on the desk, his posture straight despite the early hour. He'd spent Sunday recovering and studying the training schedule instead of continuing the party. The door opened with military sharpness. Lieutenant Commander Sienna Hayes strode in wearing her Navy working uniform, the trident pin gleaming on her chest, Lieutenant Commander bars unmistakable on her collar. Her 2 legs carried her to the front of the room with the fluid confidence of someone who'd earned every step. Her bronze skin seemed to glow against the crisp uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun. The room went silent. Coffee cups froze halfway to mouths. Jake's sunglasses slipped down his nose as his 2 eyes widened in horror. "Good morning, candidates." Her voice was Arctic professional. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Sienna Hayes. For the next 8 weeks, I will be evaluating your performance, leadership capabilities, and character fitness for advancement in the SEAL program." She let that sink in. Watched the blood drain from faces. "Some of you may recognize me from Friday evening at the Anchor's End." Her 2 eyes swept the room, lingering on Jake and Marcus. "Where several of you attempted to force a superior officer, in civilian clothes, conducting observational assessment, to drink alcohol. Where you mocked what you perceived as weakness. Where you demonstrated textbook toxic masculinity and hazing behavior." Jake's 2 hands gripped his desk so hard his knuckles went white. "Let me be crystal clear." Sienna's 5 fingers on each hand pressed against the podium. "I didn't just survive Hell Week. I completed it 11 years ago as one of 3 women in my class. I've served on 6 active deployments. I have 43 confirmed enemy kills. I've been shot twice, stabbed once, and blown up more times than I care to remember." She paused. "The SEAL Crucible. I invented that drink. 8 years ago. As a joke." Marcus actually whimpered. "You have 8 weeks to prove you're better than Friday night suggested. That you can lead with integrity, strength, and respect. Or you will be dropped from this program, and I will personally ensure your permanent record reflects exactly why." She pulled up a presentation. "Now, let's discuss what Real SEAL training looks like." The next hour was brutal, an outline of training that made Hell Week look like summer camp. Ocean swims in frigid water. Live fire exercises. Tactical scenarios with real consequences. Sleep deprivation. Psychological stress tests. Dismissed for PT, formation in 10 minutes. Full gear. The room cleared rapidly, candidates rushing to comply. Owen lingered, approaching carefully. "Ma'am, he stood at attention. "At ease, Chen." Sienna's expression didn't soften, but her 2 eyes weren't quite as cold. "You have something to say?" "I wanted to apologize for Friday. Even though I didn't participate, I should have stopped it. That was wrong." She studied him, really looked at him. His 2 eyes were sincere, his posture respectful but not obsequious. Strong 2 arms, steady 2 hands. Someone who meant what he said. "You were the only one who didn't participate," she acknowledged. "I noticed." "Why?" "Because you don't prove toughness by belittling others, ma'am. My sister taught me that. She's a Marine." His 2 eyes held hers steadily. "Real strength is knowing when to stand up, not when to show off." Something shifted in Sienna's chest, unexpected, unwelcome. Professional interest in a promising candidate, she told herself. Nothing more. Keep that perspective, Chen. The Navy needs more of it. She dismissed him with a nod. As he left, she caught herself watching the way his 2 legs carried him, confident but not cocky, purposeful. She shook her head sharply. Absolutely not. He was a candidate under her evaluation. This was the definition of inappropriate. Outside, Jake grabbed Marcus's 2 arms urgently. "We're screwed. We're completely screwed. Maybe if we just keep our heads down," Marcus suggested. "No." Jake's jaw set stubbornly. "We prove ourselves. Show her we're the best candidates here. Physical performance, tactical excellence, everything." She can't drop us if we're top performers. Jake, I don't think that's what she's evaluating. Trust me. Jake's two eyes hardened. I know how to handle this. He didn't. He really, truly didn't. But 8 weeks would teach him that lesson the hard way. In her office, Sienna reviewed the candidate files, her two hands sorting through psychological evaluations and performance records. She paused on Owen Chen's folder. Excellent tactical thinking. Superior team cohesion scores. Recommended for leadership track. She closed the file firmly. 8 weeks. She just had to maintain professional distance for 8 weeks. Her two eyes drifted to the window, watching the candidates forming up for PT. 8 very long weeks. Breaking point. Week 3. The candidates had lost the cocky swagger, replaced by exhaustion and grim determination. Sienna ran them through drills that would have broken most conventional soldiers, her two legs matching their pace through every run, her two arms demonstrating proper weapon handling with lethal precision. The Pacific Ocean was merciless at 0500, black and cold as death. Sienna stood on the beach in full wetsuit, her bronze skin glistening with salt spray, watching the candidates prepare for the underwater navigation exercise. Pairs, she commanded. You have 45 minutes to navigate the course underwater, retrieve your objective, and surface at the extraction point. Fail, and you run it again. And again. Until you succeed or drop. Jake paired with Marcus, his two eyes still holding resentment every time he looked at her. He'd been pushing himself relentlessly, fastest times, highest scores, but missing the point entirely. Excellence without character was just ego. Owen paired with a struggling candidate named Rodriguez. Sienna noticed Owen's two hands helping Rodriguez adjust his gear, his quiet encouragement. Hayes pairs with Chen for demonstration, she announced, ignoring the surprised looks. The rest of you, in the water. Now. The candidates plunged into the black water. Sienna and Owen followed last, descending into cold darkness. She led him through the course, a maze of underwater obstacles marked by glow sticks. Communication was hand signals only, her 5 fingers forming shapes he interpreted instantly. His competence surprised her. Most candidates panicked in the disorienting darkness, but Owen's two eyes behind his mask remained calm, focused. He anticipated her signals, moved fluidly through the water. When they surfaced at a checkpoint, both breathing hard, she found herself impressed. Good work, she said quietly, treading water beside him. Their two legs kicked in synchronized rhythm, maintaining position against the current. You make it look easy, ma'am. His two eyes held genuine admiration, not the false flattery she usually received. 15 years of practice. She checked her dive watch. We should. A distress signal flare shot up from the course, bright red against the dark sky. Someone's in trouble, Owen said immediately. They were already moving, powerful strokes eating distance. Sienna's two arms pulled through water with efficient strength, her training taking over. They found Marcus 30 feet down, his two arms flailing, regulator ripped from his mouth. Panic drowning. Jake floated nearby, frozen, his two eyes wide with fear, ego preventing him from signaling for help, admitting failure. Owen dove instantly, his two hands grabbing Marcus's gear. Sienna was right behind him, her 5 fingers finding Marcus's backup regulator, forcing it between his lips. Together they brought him up, controlled ascent to avoid embolism. They broke surface. Marcus coughed violently, his 2 lungs burning, but alive. Sienna's 2 hands performed rapid assessment while Owen supported Marcus's weight, his 2 strong arms holding his teammate's head above water. What happened? Sienna demanded as support boats arrived. Equipment malfunction, Jake lied, his 2 eyes not meeting hers. His regulator. Bullshit. Owen's voice was steel. You panicked when he signaled distress. I saw you freeze. Jake's face flushed with shame and anger. On the beach, medics checked Marcus while Sienna pulled Jake aside, her two eyes boring into him. You froze. Your teammate was drowning, and you froze. I was assessing the situation. You were protecting your ego. Her voice was quiet, deadly. A SEAL never abandons his team. Never. That's the one unbreakable rule. He's fine. Chen handled it. Chen shouldn't have had to. You were his partner. She stepped closer, her two arms crossed. Consider yourself on probation. One more failure of character, and you're done. That evening, Sienna found Owen alone on the beach, his two legs stretched out, watching the sunset paint the water gold and crimson. She should have walked away. Should have maintained distance. She sat beside him instead. You did good today, she said quietly. You saved Marcus's life. Just did what needed doing, ma'am. His two eyes remained on the horizon. Sienna. When we're off duty like this, you can call me Sienna. He turned, surprise evident in his two eyes. That's inappropriate. She smiled slightly. Probably. But I'm tired of being Commander Hayes 24/7. They sat in comfortable silence, waves whispering against sand. Her two eyes traced his profile, strong jaw, honest two eyes, the kind of face that showed character instead of just attractiveness. Why did you really join? She asked. Owen's two hands picked up sand, letting it fall through his 5 fingers. My little sister was assaulted 3 years ago. She was at college. Called for help, and no one came. Campus security was understaffed. Local police took 40 minutes. His voice roughened. She survived, but I wanted to be someone who shows up. Who helps. Who doesn't freeze when it matters. Sienna's chest tightened. I'm sorry that happened to her. She's stronger now. Studying criminal justice. He looked at her. What about you? Why'd you become a SEAL? Because at 17, a recruiter told me I couldn't. Said women weren't built for it. Said I should consider nursing or administration. Her two eyes hardened at the memory. Spent the next 10 years proving him wrong. Then 5 more proving I wasn't a token or diversity hire. That my accomplishments were real. They are real. His voice held absolute certainty. Anyone who's watched you lead knows that. Their two eyes met. Held. The air between them charged with something dangerous and inevitable. Her two hands rested on the sand near his, 5 fingers from each hand nearly touching, that final inch of distance both everything and nothing. Owen, she started. I know, he said quietly. You're evaluating me. This can't happen. Not now. Not now, she agreed, her voice barely above a whisper. But maybe. After. His two eyes held hope, vulnerability. She allowed herself to nod. After. He smiled, genuine, warm, transforming his face. Then I'll work my ass off to make sure there is an after. She stood, her two legs slightly unsteady. Get some rest, Chen. Tomorrow's dive is twice as deep. As she walked away, her two hands clenched at her sides, fighting the urge to turn back. 8 weeks suddenly felt like 8 years. Behind her, Owen watched her go, his two eyes following her bronze skin gleaming in the fading light, his heart doing things that had nothing to do with physical training and everything to do with falling for exactly the wrong person at exactly the wrong time. Or maybe, he thought, exactly the right person. Just complicated timing. The ocean whispered its ancient song, indifferent to human complications, as night fell over the base. After the storm. The ceremony hall gleamed with polished brass and military precision. 22 candidates stood at attention, 22, because Jake Torres was notably absent, dismissed with prejudice from the program. Sienna Hayes stood on the platform in her dress whites, the afternoon sun streaming through high windows illuminating her bronze skin, her ribbons and medals catching the light. Her two eyes swept over the graduating class, pride warming her chest. They'd made it. Most of them had learned. Commander Price called names one by one. Each candidate approached to receive their SEAL trident pin, the symbol they'd bled for, suffered for, transformed themselves for. Petty Officer Owen Chen. Owen marched forward, his two legs carrying him with quiet confidence. His dress uniform was crisp, perfect. He stood at attention before Sienna, his two eyes forward, professional. She lifted the trident pin, gold against her 5 fingers, and positioned it above his left breast pocket. Navy tradition dictated she pin it through the uniform, through the skin. A final test of pain tolerance. Congratulations, Petty Officer Chen. Her voice was formal, but her two eyes met his briefly, warmth there, promise. Her two hands pressed the pin through fabric and flesh. Owen didn't flinch, though she saw his jaw tighten slightly. Their two hands touched as she secured the backing. Electricity sparked between them, invisible to observers but undeniable to them both. "Huya, ma'am," he said quietly. "Huya," she replied, the SEAL battle cry carrying weight beyond words. He returned to formation, his two arms at his sides, but she caught the smallest smile on his lips. 2 hours later, the formal ceremony dissolved into celebration. Families surrounded their graduates. Sienna stood to the side, her two legs carrying her toward the exit. Her job was done. Time to maintain professional distance, let them celebrate without their evaluator's presence. Commander Hayes. She turned. Owen approached, now in civilian clothes, dark jeans and a button-down shirt that showed off his two strong arms. His two eyes held determination mixed with nervousness. Petty Officer Chen. She kept her voice neutral, aware of the crowd. "I'm off duty now. Officially graduated, assigned to my new unit starting next week." His two hands were in his pockets, casual but his posture gave away tension. "So technically, you're no longer my evaluator." "Technically," she agreed, her heart rate increasing. "Which means I can ask you something without either of us violating any regulations." People were watching, not obviously, but she felt the attention. Marcus gave Owen a thumbs up from across the room. Rodriguez grinned. "What did you want to ask?" Her two arms crossed, defensive posture masking the hope fluttering in her chest. "Would you have dinner with me tonight?" As Sienna and Owen. Not commander and petty officer. Just, two people who maybe want to see where this could go. She pretended to consider, though her answer had been decided weeks ago. "That's a bold move, Chen. I have a reputation for being intimidating." His smile was warm, genuine. "I drank the SEAL crucible, survived Hell Week, and earned my trident under your evaluation. I think I can handle dinner." Her two eyes sparkled with amusement. "Fair point." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. 7 o'clock. There's a seafood place on the pier, Captain's Table. Meet me there. "Yes, ma'am." He caught himself. "I mean, yes, Sienna." Hearing her name from his lips did things to her that were decidedly unprofessional. "I'll see you there, Owen." She walked away, her two legs steady despite the butterflies in her stomach, feeling his two eyes on her until she disappeared through the door. The captain's table overlooked the harbor, sailboats bobbing in the golden sunset. Sienna arrived deliberately 5 minutes late, old habit, assessing the situation first. Owen sat at a corner table, his two hands folded, his two eyes watching the water. He'd beaten her there, punctual as always. She'd changed into a simple sundress, emerald green that complemented her bronze skin, her dark hair loose around her shoulders instead of the regulation bun. When he saw her approach, his expression transformed, awe, desire, happiness mixing together. He stood, pulling out her chair. "You look, wow. You clean up pretty well yourself. She settled into her seat, her two legs crossing under the table. Dinner was easy, conversation flowing naturally now that rank didn't separate them. They talked about everything, his sister's progress in her criminal justice program, Sienna's plans to develop new training protocols, their shared love of terrible action movies and good coffee. I have a confession, Owen said over dessert, his two eyes meeting hers. I knew who you were that night at the bar. Before Monday. Her eyebrows rose. Explain. I'd researched the base's SEAL instructors before arriving. Your photo was in the official database. When those idiots started their drink it routine, I recognized you immediately. His two hands reached across the table, 5 fingers from each hand open, inviting. I almost said something, but then I saw you were handling it. And I figured you had a reason for being there undercover. Sienna's two hands met his, fingers interlacing naturally. You kept my cover. Figured it wasn't my place to blow it. Plus, I wanted to see what you'd do. His smile was admiring. Watching you drink them under the table was the highlight of my year. She laughed, genuine, unguarded. They deserved it. They really did. The check came. They argued briefly over who would pay, settled on splitting it. Outside, the pier stretched into darkness, lit by old-fashioned lampposts. They walked slowly, her two legs matching pace with his, their two arms brushing with each step. So, Owen said carefully, where do we go from here? You're still active duty. I'm starting my first real assignment next week. Different units, but same Navy. Same rules about fraternization. Different ranks, different chains of command, Sienna countered. Regulations allow relationships between personnel as long as there's no direct supervisory relationship. Which there isn't anymore. So we're actually allowed to do this? She stopped walking, turning to face him. The moonlight painted his features silver, his two eyes showing vulnerability and hope. Her two hands reached up, cupping his face, 5 fingers on each side, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. People will talk, she warned. They'll say you got preferential treatment. That I went easy on you because of this. Let them talk. His two arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. Anyone who reviews my scores knows I earned my place. And anyone who knows you knows you're the last person who'd compromise standards for personal reasons. True. Her two eyes searched his. But this is complicated. Military relationships always are. Deployments, assignments, the stress. He silenced her with a kiss. It was soft at first, tentative, asking permission. Her two lips parted, answering. The kiss deepened, weeks of restrained attraction finally unleashed. His two arms tightened around her, her two hands tangled in his hair. They kissed like drowning people finding air, like soldiers finding home. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Sienna rested her forehead against his. Your place or mine, she whispered. Yours is closer, he replied, his voice rough with want. Her apartment was modest, military housing decorated with minimal personal touches. They barely made it through the door before kissing again, urgent now, weeks of tension demanding release. Owen's two hands found the zipper of her dress, sliding it down with reverent slowness. The fabric pooled at her 2 feet. Sienna's fingers, 5 on each hand, unbuttoned his shirt, revealing the muscled chest she'd only seen during training exercises. God, you're beautiful, he breathed, his two eyes tracing her body, bronze skin, athletic curves, scars that told stories of survival and strength. So are you. Her two hands explored his chest, his shoulders, his 2 strong arms. They moved to her bedroom, shedding remaining clothes with increasing urgency. When they finally came together on her bed, it was explosive, months of attraction, respect, and genuine connection igniting into passion. Her 2 legs wrapped around his waist as he entered her, both gasping at the sensation. His 2 arms braced on either side of her head, his two eyes locked on hers as they moved together. Her two hands gripped his back, 5 fingers on each hand leaving crescents on his skin. They made love with intensity born from delayed gratification, fast and desperate at first, then slower as they learned each other's bodies, each other's rhythms. His two lips traced her neck, her collarbone. Her two legs tightened around him as pleasure built, crested, crashed over them both. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, sweat cooling on skin, his two arms holding her close against his chest. That was. Owen struggled for words. Yeah. Sienna smiled against his shoulder, her two fingers tracing patterns on his chest. It really was. They made love twice more that night, once in the shower, water streaming over their intertwined two bodies, and again in the early morning hours, slow and tender this time, savoring every touch. 6 months later, Sienna unlocked her apartment door to find Owen in the kitchen, cooking dinner. He'd moved in 3 months ago, their relationship surviving the scrutiny, the deployments, the challenges of military life. He turned as she entered, his two eyes lighting up. "How was your day, Commander?" She'd been promoted, assigned to SEAL Training Command, developing new evaluation protocols, mentoring the next generation. Productive. Exhausting. Better now. She wrapped her two arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder. His two hands covered hers, 5 fingers from each hand interlacing perfectly. "Guess what happened today," she murmured. "What?" "Jake Torres tried to re-enlist. Applied to a different SEAL program." Owen tensed. "What did you do?" "Wrote an accurate evaluation based on his documented performance and character failures. He was rejected." She turned him to face her. "But I also recommended counseling resources and suggested he consider service in a different capacity. Maybe he'll learn. Maybe he won't. But that's his journey, not ours. You're a better person than I am." He kissed her forehead. "I'd have just written 'hell no' on his application." She laughed. "Tempting. But we're supposed to be building better warriors, not just punishing failed ones." They ate dinner on the balcony, watching the sun set over the naval base where they'd first met, or rather, where he'd first watched her drink a bar full of cocky recruits under the table. "Do you remember that night at the Anchor's End?" Owen asked, his two hands holding hers across the table. "How could I forget? You were the only one who didn't participate in the hazing. I knew you were special. Didn't know how much yet, but I knew." Sienna's two eyes softened. They mocked the wrong woman that night. Tried to break what they thought was weakness. Never realized that real strength doesn't need to prove itself by humiliating others. "And thank God they did," Owen said, squeezing her two hands gently. "Because if they hadn't crossed that line, you might never have been assigned to evaluate us. And we might never have found each other," she finished. Later, in bed, their two bodies moving together with the practiced intimacy of lovers who'd learned every inch of each other, Sienna thought about how far they'd come. From that moment in the bar, surrounded by arrogant recruits who thought they knew what strength looked like, to this, partnership, equality, love earned through mutual respect. "I love you," Owen whispered against her neck, his two arms holding her close as they moved together. "I love you too," she replied, her two legs wrapped around him, her two eyes shining in the darkness. They'd both learned valuable lessons. That true strength comes from integrity, not bravado. That the best leaders lift others up rather than tearing them down. That respect must be earned, not demanded. And that sometimes, the people who mock you, who underestimate you, who try to make you prove yourself in their narrow definition of strength, sometimes they're just showing you exactly who not to become. Sienna had spent 15 years proving herself in a world that questioned whether women belonged in combat. Owen had joined to be someone who showed up, who helped, who never froze when it mattered. Together, they were proof that the strongest bonds are forged between equals, two warriors who chose each other freely, without ego, without games, with nothing but honest respect and genuine love. The recruits who'd chanted, "Drink it," that night had learned a harsh lesson about assumptions. But the man who'd stood apart, who'd recognized strength when others saw only a target for mockery, he'd gained something infinitely more valuable. He'd gained a partner. A lover. A fellow warrior who understood that real courage isn't proven in a bar with shot glasses and cruel laughter. It's proven in the quiet moments of integrity. In choosing right over easy. In seeing people for who they truly are, not who you assume them to be. And in loving someone brave enough to demand respect while remaining worthy of it.